Hi, everyone. We are Ada Angels, and this is our episode 2. Episode 2, we get to have Kyle from Frogpool. Yay! So, how is everybody?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you
Good.
guys.
Yay! All right,
So,
awesome.
Kai, we would like to get to know you better. So we don't want to necessarily know the technical side. Can you tell me a bit about you, like more, what got you into Cardano? And if we know that you are a candidate for SPOCRA. Can you tell me a little bit about SPOCRA and why did you choose to be a candidate for SPOCRA? Um,
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess starting with your first questions about kind of how I got into Cardano and my background. I went to school at Arizona State, and my background got a degree in electrical engineering, and I kind of was in software, and right out of school I went and sold for semiconductor manufacturers end-to-end engagement support, some of the most sophisticated manufacturers in the world, and I did that for 5 years and kind of got a really good sense for architecture and B2B engagements at an enterprise type level. And then I kind of went back out on my own and ended up getting into a interesting legal battle with a really large company, and put me in a position to basically build out a dojo, the first iteration, which was an ad tech initiative. And I basically had a mentor who kind of just taught the ropes, in regards to software architecture. And I kind of knew how to program, but not really architect. And so going through that, I built out an ad tech company, and it was pretty successful, and it generated a good amount of revenue. And then I started to pivot it into IoT, and I ended up attempting an ICO on US soil in 2018. And so I got clipped by regulators out the gate with that. And I ended up having beers with the lead investigator after the fact. But, kind of just looking at the technology in my background, when I was selling for Intel, I kind of got a really good skill set I developed for, engaging with engineering teams and kind of assessing who was worth a shit. And so when I saw what IOHK at the time was doing, it really caught my eye, and I just kind of delved a lot deeper into it. And so then I just made it to start building in parallel to what they were building, so I could potentially meet them with a DApp when they launch smart contracts. So that's kind of, I got into running a stake pool kind of just as a hobby to figure out how it worked. I ended up getting sick. I got Lyme disease a little over a year ago, and it really screwed me up for a good few months. But coming out of it, I started kind of getting into the stake pool stuff during ITN, and just worked through that. And the whole Spocker initiative is, that's born out of a necessity for certain communication factors and representation that needs to be in place, so we don't have to scramble as a community to fill gaps that the Cardano Foundation is not filling. So there's education gaps and things like that. So the community right now is doing the work collectively that Spocker could be doing, and it's a burden. And that kind of leads into the proposal for the Catalyst Fund, while we're trying to kind of have some of these educational necessities that need to be completed funded, if you will. So I hope that kind of covers the gist of what you guys were asking for there.
that's really cool. So you mentioned that you want to build a DApp.
Yep.
Can you tell me that? It's really interesting. Can you?
Yeah. So I've got an IoT platform, and basically it's end to end. And what IoT? It's Internet of Things. It's basically a Wi-Fi connected device. And what I've got, and it's all centralized right now, is I have the ability for a user to basically log into a computer and configure a device and deploy it. And so now you've got custom control and automation devices that can do all kinds of crazy stuff based on input sensors, or, they can just control, you make all kinds of things. I've got guys that have natural gas detectors. I have customers that are growing cannabis all over the world. You know, they've got automated watering systems, some water on soil moisture, some water on cycle. And they've got Wi-Fi monitoring and alerts set up. So the way I want to tie that into Cardano is actually what I'm trying to do right now, and I actually have a catalyst proposal. Whether I get funded or not, I'll still probably build it in some form because I need it. But basically embed keys onto the device itself so the device can sign transactions, and that'll allow the device to make purchases for itself on the platform, but also sign data that it sends back to the platform verifying that it came from that device. And that signed data could be used in a DMP or a data marketplace to sell, so you could monetize it. So the other thing is that my Canadian users who are growing really good weed in Canada, right, they have the ability, or will have the ability to sell their IoT profiles to other users. So people with the same hardware profile can plug something together like IoT Legos, and then you got a peer-to-peer marketplace. That's kind of what I'm building towards. The whole IoT side and the Wi-Fi, that's all functional and working, and I have customers now. And so now it's just a matter of integrating and tokenizing. So the signing transactions on device component is when we get to the kind of data marketplace, that's more Goguen dependent, if that makes sense. So I'm an American entrepreneur. I like to build, and that's what I do most of the time. Is you know, when I'm not nerding out, I'm doing something cool. So
That's really cool. How are you finding time for all of this? This is madness.
I mean, it's all I do. You know, like I said, I don't, you know, I work for myself. I have for a long time, and so that's been good and bad depending on the year. But you know, so that's why, you know, if I can engage in a way that is profitable and can do this full time, that's great. You know, so doing stuff for the community, it's taken its toll in certain respects. So I'm preparing to move back into another build cycle. So that's kind of it's, and that's what I grow my hair really long when I go into build cycles, and I cut it when I come out. So I've been kind of chilling for a while.
So we know where you are based on your hair.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'm roughing it.
So, so if I understand your catalyst proposal right now, it's kind of similar to kind of how we met, right? Like I was learning how to do stuff, and I met you, and then you really helped me understand a few things that I was missing. And so that's kind of what your catalyst proposal is.
For Spakra, yeah, no, we've got some serious problems with education. So if you look at like the documentation, if you were an SPO and you're like, hey, I'm going to come and make a stake pool, you get into the documentation and they don't tell you anything about what keys mean. They don't tell you anything about how not to store them on the server. It's all just like create them right here. And they don't tell you anything about signing cold transactions. And then there's some basic stuff that Linux newcomers need to could use and benefit from. That's more on the back burner as opposed to the critical security, hey, here's what you need to do and not do kind of approach. And then, you know, there's a lot of pieces that you'd want to pull together from different places, putting Crony in and, you know, setting up a system service, things like that. So I think there's a lot of room to offer a more complete and valuable guide. You know, I was supporting Cardano Stake Pool School for a while.
Yeah.
And what they ended up doing is they were just pumping out, you know, just a standardized doc. And, you know, I have kids who were sitting there saying, hey, so I ran through all these steps. I created my keys. I funded my address. I got stuck. So I did it again and I overwrote my keys. And I'm like, man, it's gone. You know, your money's gone. So it's just like, okay, you know, so people are.
I can really like relate to this because, you know, I didn't have any technical background. So I've been looking for guides and like, you know, scripts and all of that. And even though I was doing everything step by step, I didn't have understanding what I was really doing, you know. So this would be really useful to have something in place step by step for newbies, for someone who, like me, for example, and who wants to learn, but, you know, I would need more, you know, more information, more depth explanation to it, I think.
Well,
So,
yeah, I think it's important to let every stake pool operator know how deep the rabbit hole goes, right? You know, locking down your nodes, all that kind of stuff. And explain to them how to do it. And then, you know, once you understand all the facets, then you can go and explore and learn for yourself. And so, and that's kind of the baseline of why Spocker's here. But what we really need to do is we need to establish communication channels between Cardano Foundation, IOG, and stakeholders. And not just some sort of outlet where they can push information to us. So I think at some point as a community, this goes into the whole roadmap thing, right? At some point as a community, I think we want to push, at least I would push to have community members sit on the CF council, right? And that gives us the visibility and accountability, you know, and that needs to be there. So obviously there's issues or that whole, you know, we wouldn't have that roadmap initiative. And I know that they hired a CEO, and that kind of maybe killed a little bit of steam there, but that's something that we as a community should demand to put into place. Now, I don't think that SPOCRA should necessarily hold one of those seats, but I think we should work with all stake pool operators to ensure that whatever's in those seats represent that community and have visibility to represent that community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So,
but yeah, so you say that you work for yourself. So what other things do you do to like balance out your life?
what do you mean? Like,
I mean, like,
are you talking about like for fun or like other work? Because I got other work.
I got other work
Balance
too.
the work,
So
yeah.
I have work and I have other work too.
I mean, I play too. You know, I'm on a lot of land, so I've got, you know, we have fun.
So,
I mean,
let's say, like, what do you do? Like for me, for decompress, I do family stuff, or I go work out. Like, what do you do for decompress?
it depends. Like, you know, I got my daughter. You know, I got a 8-year-old daughter, and she's a blast. So, we'll have a lot of fun depending on, you know, if she's in the mood or whatever. But I got a precision rifle too, so I open up with that. You know, that's a different type of shooting. So it's like a sniper rifle kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I just hang out and, you know, I'll go fish in the pond in the front yard. You know, I'll redneck out every now and then. But I mean, I spent 15 years in Phoenix too, so I mean, it's just this whole COVID thing's got us to where we can't really, you know, do a whole lot. So, you know, play video games with the kids, or, you know, do some stuff with the family. But, you know, I like my time too. I like just to chill. So, but I don't have a lot of decompression these days. I wish I did.
Yeah. And I guess I don't know if I ever talked to you, but like, where did the name for Frog Pool come from?
I just made it up on the fly. Yeah, I just made it up. Now, Doja, I had a wolf, and his name was a Doja. I raised a wolf. I got a wolf in college, and I ended up breeding him and had his kids, so I had to raise those too. So that was fun. Yeah.
That sounds like a whole other fun story. A wolf.
Yeah. No, I mean, Doja's been brought home by the cops a few times, but he's never been brought to the pound. He's just one of those. He was a cool dog.
That's cool. Yeah. Like, how did you come into that? Like, how did you find him?
I was looking for one for a couple of years, and I found him in the mountains in, you know, like Phoenix. And so I went and saw him, and he was cool, and I took him and I raised him. So he was a pain in the ass, but he turned out all right.
Oh my gosh. So he's just there roaming along. You're like, I'm going to take you home.
Well, no. Like, I found a lady who had some that she was getting. I paid $100 for him. Yeah.
It sounded like you were up in the mountains. You're like, oh, wolf puppy, I'm gonna take you home.
No. That's fucked up. No. But, yeah.
So, Kyle, I've got a question. So, from my understanding, have you helped Amanda with her setup? Like,
yeah, she needed a lot of help.
Oh wow, that's so like. But have you helped someone else apart from Amanda with setting up the pool and that?
Oh yeah. I mean, just being part of the community, there's a lot of help that you give. So that just comes with the territory.
Yeah, he's super helpful. Like, I see him help so many people, and like I like the example that he gave. Like, somebody overwrote their cold keys because that was almost me, you know. So it's like, because I didn't understand what all of these things were from the guides. I'm reading them. There's the codes there, the scripts and stuff, and it's all foreign language. I don't understand it, you know.
So maybe can you try explain like in the simple words, because I don't want to like confuse viewers that don't know what we're talking about. So when we try to build a stake pool, we are sending our pledge to this address, right? So can you like try to explain like in simple words?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me hold on, my mic switch. Okay, there we go. All right. So in simple words, you've got a lock and you've got a key. Okay. And you put your pledge inside your lock and you can't get to it without your key. You need your key. And if you overwrite your keys, you basically just threw your key in the shitter and you go get some random new key. It's not going to work with your lock.
Okay.
You lost your money.
So your ADA is locked forever on the blockchain, right? Without the key.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and this is only the risk for stake pool operators or for someone who's trying to create a stake pool. You cannot lock your ADA. Well, you can with Daedalus and Yoroi, but it's not as easy done as it is for when you're trying to create a stake pool, right? Because like when you're opening an wallet with Daedalus, you've got this recovery phrase and it shows you like, hey, you need to write this down, right? But when you are opening a stake pool, when you're creating a stake pool, when you're creating the addresses and keys, you've got to be really careful step by step with what
it's a different process. Yeah, you manage your raw keys. So you keep your cold keys offline. You build and sign transactions offline, and you move those signed files over and submit them. Yeah, you gotta maintain your keys. There's no simple integration to pledge from Daedalus yet. That should be coming, and that's going to change the game too. So then everybody's going to run a pool or want to be a part of running a pool.
Yeah.
Right. That's why we need some like guidance. We need some help for someone who is not so technical. We would like to see a school or something that you've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it just needs to be standard for everybody. We've got a lot of stake pool operators, and unfortunately, they don't have all the tools that they, I think they need. In my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion. So that's kind of the first spearhead initiative of SPOCR. But we've got to keep in mind we're going to be a vote-based system, and so in regards to that, CF has voting power, IOG has voting power, and at some point we would want to influence that to the best of our ability, and the best way we can do that is have some sort of collective mechanism to where we can gather, organize, and convey community feedback to those entities so we can influence properly and become a means of influence, because that's important to them. They will want to understand that visibility. So if we can kind of provide that, I think that would go a long way towards bridging that kind of connection we need between the community and stakeholders.
Yeah. So I think, go ahead.
Sorry. No, it's okay. It's okay. You go.
I was just gonna say, like, I think a good wrap-up question would be like, I get this question a lot about how to set up a stake pool and things from just people who text me on Twitter or Telegram. But my advice is always kind of like, make sure that you want to and make sure that you understand. So like, what would be your best advice for these new people who want to come on and do that?
It's not for everybody. The idea of running a stake pool is awesome, but there's some low-level stuff, and there are things that are going to happen in the future where technical skills are going to need to be in play for, you know, you keep the nodes up and keep knocking blocks. And so I think it's worth learning, but I would say if you want to run a stake pool, put some time into a test net. You know, make sure you put your test net hours in, and then from there, you know, make sure you're signing keys cold or signing transactions cold. And once you've got that down and you've got your keys cold, you've got a little bit of room. You know, I operate as if my nodes are going to be compromised. So, you know, big deal. If they can't get your keys, they can't steal your pledge, they can't modify your pool. The worst thing they can do is make blocks on your behalf. So, and obviously you don't want to do that, but you know, I just think it's worth understanding what you're doing. If you're just copying and pasting stuff and not really saying, oh, what does this do or what does this do, it's not going to end well.
Right.
So
I just want to thank you guys. Thank you, Kyle, for coming on, and I'm going to put your idea scale link below,
cool.
so people can find you and find out more about your proposal, because I think it's awesome.
Thanks.
And the stuff for Spakra as well. But yeah, and then we'll talk again more about as Spakra is developing, because it is really something that the community should be tuning into, because it is great. So
okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh yes, of course.
Thanks for taking your time. It's been really nice getting to know you a little bit. I was just gonna ask you, but we can like stop recording, but I was just gonna ask you this question, like, you know, where do you see yourself in the future? Do you see yourself as a developer, stake pool operator, an investor, like with Cardano, or?
Well, I mean, I'm going to try and tokenize a product. So if I can get that, maybe I can get some capital. And if I can get some capital, I'll start to rock and roll. You know, I'm just kind of waiting for my set. Yeah. So I'm just going to keep building and see what I can do to kind of do that. But I mean, we'll probably always run a pool. But I'm in it for the DApp play. You know, I think we can do some really cool stuff, and then I want to build hardware. So if I can get cash flow, I'll probably build a whole lot of cool stuff. This is what I'm doing now. It's really hard to do that type of work in that quantity, flying that low to the trees. You know, the code base gets pretty enormous, and you know, managing it. So at some point I want to open it up too. So I'm trying to get to a point where I can start to do that, and do that in a way where, you know, it can help build the ecosystem and kind of grow organically. So, you know, there's kind of a lot between now and then to get there, but that's kind of, if I could build the rest of my life, that's what I'd do.
That's really cool.